Imagine someone telling you, "I love you, but you are the problem in this relationship." And you believe them, not because you're stupid, but because that person taught you to doubt yourself so slowly, so patiently, that you never noticed the moment you stopped trusting your own instincts. That is a toxic relationship, and I'm going to tell you things nobody ever tells you about them. No motivational quotes. No, just leave. Just psychology, facts, and truth that hurts. Most people think a toxic relationship is one where someone physically hits you, or insults you in public, or openly controls your every move. But the reality is far more insidious. Dr. John Gottman, a clinical psychologist who spent over 40 years studying couples at the University of Washington, identified 4 behaviors that destroy relationships with over 90% accuracy. He called them the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Of those 4, contempt is the most dangerous. It's not just yelling. It's the eye roll when you speak. The sarcasm that accidentally hits exactly where it hurts. The tone of voice that sends the message you are worthless without ever saying the word. Gottman says contempt in communication even predicts health problems in the receiving partner. It literally shortens your life. Now, something very important. A toxic relationship never starts toxic. If it did, nobody alive would stay in one. It starts with something psychologists call love bombing. Bombardment of attention and affirmation. Too many messages. Too many compliments. "I've never loved anyone like this," in the first week. And you think, finally, someone who truly sees me. But neuroscientist Dr. Helen at Rutgers University proved that romantic infatuation activates the same brain regions as cocaine. Ventral tegmental area. Nucleus accumbens. Same reward system, same chemistry, same addiction. And when someone gives you that attention, then takes it away, then gives it back again, that's called intermittent reinforcement. The same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Psychologist B.F. Skinner proved this in the lab in the 1950s. Unpredictable reward creates stronger addiction than constant reward. That's why slot machines have no schedule. And that's why you can't stop waiting for their message. You don't stay because you're weak. You stay because your brain is literally hacked. That's neurobiology, not character. Now let's get specific. Here are signs most people only recognize after they leave, sometimes months or years later. First, isolation. Nobody will tell you, "I forbid you from seeing friends." That's too obvious. Instead, every time you come back from seeing friends, the atmosphere is icy. Every outing becomes an interrogation. Every hangout requires an explanation. And after a while, it's just easier not to go out. Nobody locked you in, but you are trapped. Second, constant hypervigilance. You always watch what you say. You change your tone. You choose your words carefully. You scan their mood before you even speak. Dr. Ramani Durvasula, professor of clinical psychology at California State University, describes this as living in a constant state of uncertainty. Your nervous system is permanently in fight or flight mode, even in your own home. The body does not distinguish physical danger from emotional danger. The cortisol is the same. Third, gaslighting. "I never said that. You're too sensitive. That didn't happen the way you remember." The term comes from the 1944 film Gaslight, where a husband systematically convinces his wife she's losing her mind by manipulating her environment and denying reality. Modern research shows gaslighting causes real cognitive damage. You lose trust in your own memory, in your perception, in your judgment. You start relying on the other person to define what's real. That is not love. That is control. Fourth, the cycle of punishment and reward. They explode, disappear, give you the silent treatment. Then they return with warmth, affection, even tears. And in that moment of relief, your brain releases dopamine like you just won something. You didn't win anything. You just returned to baseline. But your brain doesn't know the difference. Fifth, identity erosion. You stop liking what you used to like. You stop seeing people you used to see. Your opinions shrink. Your voice gets quieter. Not because someone told you to shut up, but because you learned that having your own thoughts causes conflict. So you just stopped having them. Now here's what nobody talks about. Why smart, capable, emotionally aware people stay in these relationships for years. It's not stupidity. It's a trauma bond. Dr. Patrick Carnes first described this: a deep emotional attachment formed through repeated cycles of abuse and intermittent positive reinforcement. The bond is strongest not when things are good, but right after things were terrible. That relief moment rewires your brain to associate the abuser with safety. Your nervous system starts to believe they are the danger and the solution. That is the trap. And here is something even harder to hear. Your attachment style might make you more vulnerable. Research by Bowlby and later Hazan and Shaver shows that people with anxious attachment, often developed in childhood through inconsistent caregiving, are statistically more likely to stay in toxic dynamics. Not because they want pain, but because unpredictability feels familiar, and the brain confuses familiar with safe. So what do you actually do? First, name it. You cannot leave a pattern you cannot see. Start tracking how you feel after interactions, not during. During, your emotions are hijacked. After, your body tells you the truth. If you consistently feel drained, confused, or small after spending time with someone, that is data. Second, rebuild your reality testing. Talk to people outside the relationship, not to get advice, just to hear yourself say things out loud. Gaslighting breaks down when witnesses exist. Third, understand that leaving is not one decision. It's a series of micro-decisions. Research by Dr. Kim Anderson shows that on average, a person attempts to leave a harmful relationship 7 times before leaving for good. That is not failure. That is a normal neurological process of detachment. Fourth, get professional support. Not because you're broken, but because a trained therapist can identify patterns you've normalized. You cannot see the water you're swimming in. Someone outside the tank can. And finally, know this. The hardest part of leaving is not the moment you go. It's the silence after. The absence of chaos. The weird emptiness where hypervigilance used to be. That emptiness is not a sign you made a mistake. It's withdrawal. And like all withdrawal, it passes. Your nervous system will recalibrate. Your identity will come back. Not the one they shaped. The one that was always underneath. It just needs time and proof that the world is safe without them in it.